and welcome back to the Hotline where we are talking, Abu Dhabi 21 again. Alfa Romeo, I can't even say it, can I? Alfa Romeo with a brand new livery, and it's race week. 5 storylines that we're excited about ahead of the Italian Grand Prix from Formula1.com. But first, let's get into this brand new Flexi wing clampdown. As motorsport.com by Jonathan Noble, Formula 1 teams face a fresh clampdown on Flexi wings after this weekend's Italian Grand Prix. Motorsport.com can reveal that the FIA is moving to counter tricks it believes are illegal. Now, first reported earlier this month from motorsport.com, the FIA have been taking a close look at these flexible wings over the first half of the season, as it believes teams have been pushing those boundaries in terms of what's allowed. It's understood several teams, including Aston Martin, were advised to make changes to their front wing designs around the time of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, that's Baku, in a bid to ensure that they did not fall foul. But as part of a ramped-up effort to stop any attempt at getting around the regulations, the FIA have now issued a formal technical directive outlining what it believes are unacceptable designs in regards to bodywork. This new technical directive is called TD018, and a copy has been sent, obviously, to motorsport.com and sent to teams ahead of the Dutch Grand Prix. The FIA states it believes outfits are exploiting regions of purposely designed localized compliance plus relative motion between adjacent components to deliver a significant boost to aerodynamic performance, basically flexing their wings in short. And it states that any designs that operates like this is in breach of Article 3.2.2 of F1's regulations. And yes, that article states, ladies and gentlemen, all components that influence a car's aerodynamic performance must be rigidly secured and immobile with respect to their frame of reference as defined in Article 3.3. Now, these components must produce a uniform, solid, hard, continuous, impervious, quite a lot of words, isn't it? Surface under all circumstances. If you remember, we had obviously back in the Red Bull days, I specifically remember the Hungarian Grand Prix. I don't know what year, but it was Vettel's Red Bull where the wings were flexing. And to be fair to Red Bull, the tests were increased, I think, on the loads, and they continued to pass. Also, in relation to this, it would appear Mercedes and Red Bull are also in the firing line, because there have been videos out on the Twitter, or X as we like to call it now, that their wings have been flexing a bit, like bending, which potentially can give you an aerodynamic advantage. So what's going to be interesting is, I think after the Italian Grand Prix, I think when this comes in place potentially for Singapore or Japan, but in the next few races, whether that's going to change the order at all. I don't know, but will it? Well, I guess we'll have to see. Stay tuned. So, more questions raised about Abu Dhabi's 2021 race after the Zandvoort tyre call. This is on planetf1.com by Oliver Harden. Now, F1 commentator Peter Windsor believes the red flag stoppage at the Dutch Grand Prix is what should have happened when Max Verstappen took the F1 crown from Hamilton in the infamous Abu Dhabi 2021 finale. Now, heavy rain at Zandvoort saw the race suspended with 8 laps of the finish, with all drivers forced by the governing body, the FIA, to restart on intermediate tyres after an extended delay. Verstappen went on to win his home race for a successive third year, equalling Vettel's 2013 record of 9 consecutive victories to take another step closer to the World Championship. That was obviously not Abu Dhabi, that was here, as in at Zandvoort. He's obviously achieved this 9 races. Now, Zandvoort's scenario should have been applied at Abu Dhabi 21. Yes, the Red Bull driver won his first title, as we know, in those controversial conditions when the FIA race director failed to implement the safety car rules correctly and set up a one-lap duel between Hamilton and Verstappen. Now, as you know, Hamilton, who had pretty much been dominating the race up until that point, saw his reign ended after Verstappen, on significantly faster and fresher tyres, overtook him. And after a red flag delay was followed by a finish behind the safety car in Australia earlier this year, Windsor argued that's the finish we should have got in Abu Dhabi 21, when Hamilton was robbed of a record-breaking 8th title. And also, following the events of the Dutch Grand Prix, the 92 title-winning Williams team manager, as in Peter Windsor, says Zandvoort proved there was another alternative available to the race organisations that night, Yas Marina with red flags allowing all drivers to make a free tyre change in the name of safety. And asked by a viewer during a recent YouTube stream how evenly matched the Red Bull Mercedes cars were, he said they were very, very closely matched. The Mercedes was usually a bit quicker in a straight line, but it was close. It was very close. I think we saw Mercedes definitely with a very competitive car in the last few races. I still say that race of Lewis's at Abu Dhabi was one of the best races he ever drove, considering the state of the championship. It was a really impressive performance for Mercedes as well, I think, to do as well as they did. So there we go. I mean, more proof that really no fault of Mr. Max Verstappen, but it was the wrong call. And it potentially, maybe there's a parallel universe where the right call has been made and Lewis is an 8-time champion. But unless Hamilton's going to go down the Felipe Massa route of doing things, I cannot see that changing. But another story from motorsport.com. Look at this. We have here an absolutely beautiful Alfa Romeo livery. Look at that. It's the Alfa Romeo F1 team. It's unveiled this special car livery for the Italian Grand Prix to celebrate. This striking one-off look featuring golden accents and highlights on the Italian flag tricolor that adorns the engine cover will be used throughout the Monza weekend by both Bottas and Zhou. The Sauber Run squad, which has run a handful of sponsor-led livery tweaks this year, will end its F1 partnership with Alfa Romeo at the conclusion of the 2023 season. This Italian Grand Prix marking the Alliance's last home race, effectively. And to celebrate the occasion, they have this absolutely stunning livery. I think that's fantastic, isn't it? I really like it. I think it's brilliant. It's fantastic. And the article goes on to say that, interestingly, Alfa Romeo has expressed interest in staying in the F1 paddock, with reports emerging recently linking it to a sponsorship deal with the Haas team. Now, last June, Haas F1 Gunther Steiner indicated the team was open to joining up with Alfa Romeo, but no talks had begun. Haas already has a long-term title sponsorship arrangement in place with MoneyGram, and Steiner said that any association with Alfa Romeo would have to accommodate that. Alfa Romeo hopes the new look gives it a boost on track, having failed to score any points at the Canadian Grand Prix in June. Well, I'll tell you what, let's hope it does. A podium, imagine a podium in that car. Winning! Sauber's first ever, second ever win, 2008 Canadian Grand Prix Kubica. But there we go. I mean, that'd be amazing, wouldn't it? That'd be fantastic. Formula1.com have got a interesting article. It's race week, 5 storylines. I mean, Verstappen aiming to set a new record. Yep. It's hard to go into a race weekend, it says, without mentioning Max Verstappen and Red Bull, even if it has largely been a question of if anybody can stop the formidable pairing from taking yet another victory. Oh, I mean, yeah, let's be honest, we're not going to get into proper predictions, but probably going to be a Verstappen victory. Also, it's talking about Lawson's second opportunity. Daniel Ricciardo's innocuous-looking crash at FP2 at Zandvoort has had big consequences. It's, as we know, he's broken his hand and he's ruled out for Monza. Now, flying straight to Barcelona, as we know, Ricciardo had surgery on the break on Sunday to give him the best chance of recovery. And team principal says Singapore is probably the earliest target. That would represent a remarkable time frame, though, if Ricciardo were to come back, it says. And as we know, the rookie, Lawson, did an excellent job at replacing the Australian at such late notice. We had just one practice session, and that was in wet conditions to prepare for qualifying, and a race start on slicks with rain falling. And this is the race that a lot of people went off. I mean, Hamilton went wide, Perez, Logan Sargent properly went off as well. Now, the New Zealander will get a full race weekend to build up his experience and should go into qualifying and the race far more prepared than as he was in the Netherlands. So he's going to be showing Red Bull what he's capable of. Ferrari hopes in front of the Tifosi, yes. In this up and down 2023 season for Ferrari, I mean, what an absolute shocker. And it says if there's one venue where Ferrari will want to score a big result, it's Monza, where the Tifosi will be out in full force to support their team. And it's a very different challenge to the high downforce Zandvoort, with low downforce and drag levels a priority, where straight line speed and braking stability are key. And all of the teams are likely to bring specific aero configurations to Monza, and Ferrari will be hoping theirs proves to be particularly competitive to open up the possibility of what would be a hugely popular podium, or even a win, who knows. Another big chance for Williams, it says. On Thursday, the Dutch Grand Prix, Albon ranked Zandvoort as a track that is within the bottom fifth of their car's capabilities. But, as we know, both cars qualified in that Q3. And Williams has been particularly strong on low downforce tracks of recent, and maintained they had points in Canada earlier this year, leaving both Monza and Las Vegas as two venues where they've targeted another lucrative weekend. And if you remember, Nick de Vries last year, that run in the Williams, that is what gave him his AlphaTauri seat. So it'll be really interesting to see what Williams can do coming into this race. And a test of new tyre rules. There's no sprint event in Monza this weekend, but there's a significant difference to the way the weekend will play out. As first seen in Hungary, the second trial of the alternative tyre allocation will take place, intending to reduce the number of tyres brought to each race weekend by Pirelli. Instead of 13 sets at a normal event, there'll just be 11 per team, with 3 sets of hards, 4 sets of mediums, and 4 sets of softs. Now, the reduction comes with strict rules regarding qualifying. The driver is mandated to use the hard compound in Q1, the medium in Q2, and the soft in Q3. And this led to a mixed-up grid in Budapest, a race where Lewis Hamilton got pole position, as different cars managed to switch on their tyres in different ways. So we could see the trial having another impact on that qualifying. Let's hope for an absolutely mixed-up grid. That would be fantastic, wouldn't it, for the Italian Grand Prix? I would love that. Brilliant. But there we go. There's Alex Albon's smiling face. Let's hope he's smiling come Sunday afternoon once the race is finished in Monza. This has been the Hot Lap. We will be back for the full race preview. Speak to you soon.